You're listening to Brazen Bookworm's Unrighteous Reading Rebellion, a reformed book snob's journey and musings through all things romance. Some language may not be safe for all ears. Frequent use of sarcasm may occur.
So I want to welcome Patricia D Eddy for joining us tonight. And the background on this is Patricia posted something on her Facebook page about if people only knew all of the things that authors did that had nothing to do with authoring or something like that. And I was like, oh, we need to talk about that because it is something that we talk about, but it's not something that we talk about. So I was like, okay, I think we need to do that as a podcast. So Patricia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, all the things.
So I am Patricia D Eddy. I am an author of military, post-military romantic suspense and paranormal romance and BDSM romance. I live out in Seattle. I've been writing and publishing just about 10 years now. I've been writing all my life. I've been publishing fiction for 10 years now. And that's mostly me. I live in Seattle, husband. I have 3 very spoiled cats who are basically my kids and run ragged around the house. And I also have a day job. I write UX content, which is user experience content. So I work for a big software company. And so UX content is like the things that you see on the screen when you're using different pieces of software. So I do that for my 9 to 5.
So you have a 9 to 5. And then after your 9 to 5, you have another 9 to 5.
Yep.
So that's just as intense and takes up quite a bit of time.
Yes.
So you're an indie author, and there's a lot of, question out there about people have always asked the question, what's an indie author versus a traditionally published author? So talk to us a little bit about why you are considered an indie author, what that means to you, why you chose to go that route.
So an indie author basically just means that I do not have a large publishing house behind me. And really, I mean, actually, it could be a small publishing house too. There are more than there used to be. Years ago, it used to be basically the big 5, and I could not even name all 5 of them if I tried. But the big 5, like you hear people talk about the big 5, that's big traditional publishers. And I decided to go independent because, well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, when you're independent, you control everything, and that's good and it's bad. Like there are lots of benefits to that, and there are a few things that maybe are not the best. Part of why we're here today. But I went indie because I wanted to write the stories that I wanted to write, and traditional publishing is a wonderful way to go. If you are a new author and you are contemplating trad pub, go for it. I mean, there are a lot of benefits to it, but trad pub is also sometimes can be hard to get into, and a lot of times they have very specific needs and requirements based on what they think they can market. And like at one point early in my career, vampires were quote unquote out and shifters were in. And that just happened to be right at the time I was writing a vampire book. And so it's things like that that can sometimes make it a lot more attractive and easier to go indie, because you can write what you want to write when you want to write it, publish it when you want to publish it. You don't necessarily have to wait. A number of my traditionally published friends, they will turn in a manuscript and it will not be in readers' hands for 18 months. When I finish a manuscript and my editor finishes with it and it's ready to go, I can release it whenever I want to. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot about that to me is just really attractive. I have final say over my covers. I have final say over my titles. Nobody other than my editors are going to tell me you have to change this because one reason or another. So for me, it just seemed like a lot more flexible, but also just a lot freer for me to be able to do what I wanted with my stories and my characters.
I love it. So, and I apologize if my screen went a little wonky a couple minutes ago. I don't know what happened, but I'm having some little screen issues, and every now and then I'm looking this way because that's where my questions are. So I'm not like zoning out.
Same.
It's like, oh wait, question. Okay. So have you always written romance? You've been writing for 10 years, indie, it's always been romance. And was I'm trying to think of like the way to question the word this. It's not like, was that intentional? What what led you to write romance? Like, what was the impetus for that?
I don't know that it was really a conscious decision so much as those are the plots that came to me, and those are the characters that came to me. I do have a couple of ideas for thrillers that at some point I do hope to write, but everything that I have, every idea that I've gotten, every set of characters that have come into my head have told me that they want to be a romance, that they want to fall in love. And I also just really love the idea of falling in love and getting to know the other person in that romantic way. I have a lot of friendships in my books too, and I love that portion of it as well. But yeah, all the characters who have demanded that I tell their stories have all been, no, we want to find love. We want to be in love.
I love that.
Tomorrow's
I love
Valentine's Day, so
right. I love that you talk about your characters talk to you, because that's something I hear from like so many authors is I write the story that they're telling me. It's not like I'm making this up as I go. It's they're telling it to me and I am just the scribe.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
I love that. So I'm sorry, again, I'm looking at my questions because otherwise I'll go off the rails. They know that. And just making sure I've got all of the details here. And Ron, you had a question.
Oh, so you made the decision to go indie. What are the drawbacks? You said that.
Lots of options, really. One of the, like I mentioned, I have final say over my own covers, but that also means I have to pick my cover models. And as fun as that may sound, by the time you have written 50 books, it can get a little tedious. There are a lot of models out there, and a lot of it's a lot of endless scrolling through stock photo sites and then custom photographers websites to go, okay, well, which picture, and then maybe I narrow it down to a particular model, and then there's still 30 pictures of him. Like, how do you pick? I like 20 of them. 20 of them work for the book. Which one do I choose? So it's things like that that can often be a little overwhelming or just a lot. And it's not that any of them are bad things. I do truly enjoy picking the photographs for my book covers, but at the same time, when I'm also 3 days from a deadline and my cover designer emails me and says, oh, hey, you booked this cover slot, and we're really busy, so you need to take this cover slot. You have to come up with a model in 3 days. And occasionally I have not been good enough at putting reminders in my calendar to make sure I have a model when my spot is coming up. So it can be things like that are just, they hit you out of the blue, and you just have to drop everything and you have to do this, because otherwise the next cover slot isn't for another 6 months. So if I don't pick the cover model tomorrow, I'm going to have to wait 6 months before I can get another cover, things like that.
Cool.
Or even oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The other thing I was going to add is just things like dealing with Amazon or dealing with the retailers when something changes or when something happens. There are tons of things that authors will talk about all over social media when bad things happen, but bad things do occasionally happen, no matter what. Even if you've done everything right, you get hit by a bot, or your ads suddenly turn off, or I had one experience where I completely did not realize that my credit card had expired. And so all of my ads turned off because my credit card had expired, and I had updated it everywhere except for Facebook. So all of my ads turned off. And then it was like, 4 hours of trying to figure out where exactly to update my credit card because it was not in the place I expected it to be. Things, just weird one-off things like that can just take so much time.
So just to circle back, because you started with titles or with covers, where in your process do you write, do you do your cover? Do you do it when you're ready to publish? Do you do it and then write to the title, or to the title and cover? Where does that fit in your?
It really depends on when my cover designer has openings. So for example, I have a whole series of covers for 2 series that I have not even started writing yet, because I was in 2022, I was very, very optimistic about how many books I would write. And so I booked a whole bunch of cover slots because I had this plan. And then the books took a lot longer than I wanted, but I still had all these cover slots. And I knew that these 2 other series were coming. So I just did all the covers. So I have like 6 covers for books I have not even announced yet. So usually my covers are done well in advance. It is a little easier because I do write interconnected standalones, in that I've already introduced characters for the next like 5 away from keyboard books. So I already know what they look like. I already know a little bit about them. And even if I don't know everything about them, or I don't know enough to write their story, I at least have some idea of who they are and what they would look like, and like what emotion I want on the cover. So that helps.
Okay, thanks.
Have you ever written a book because of a photo or a cover? Like you saw it and it just spoke to you, like, I didn't have it planned, but I'm writing this because this looks like.
I actually have 2 pictures that I've already purchased that I've not used on covers, that I purchased specifically because I wanted to write books for them. I've not done it yet. I do know what one of the stories will be, or at least I know the main character for one of the stories. The other one, I have no idea. I just saw the photograph and went, I have to own that, and I have to write a book for it eventually. So it will eventually become a book.
I love that. Now I can't wait to see it. Now I'm like going to be looking at every cover going, I wonder if that's it. I wonder if that's it.
Well, they are both
us. We
paranormal
won't tell
romances.
anyone.
So
they're both PNR?
yes, they're both PNR. So when they come out, yeah, you don't have to wonder about the AFK, the Away from Keyboard, or the Gone Rogue books, but yeah, paranormal romances.
It's funny. I'm listening to Storm of Sin right now because, I'm trying for Charm City. I'm trying to get through everybody I haven't read yet. And I started my romance journey reading paranormal with shifters and aliens, and then kind of went to romantic suspense. And I haven't read a PNR in forever. And then I think it was either like on sale, or somebody posted something about Storm of Sin, and somebody said, oh, and it's Jason Clarke and Maxine Mitchell. And I went, sold. And I started listening the next day.
Yeah. That narration is possibly one of my favorites. I mean, I love all of them, but that one is definitely top of my list.
I didn't want to get out of my car. I listened in my car. I pulled into the driveway and I was like, I know I have stuff to do, but I'm just going to sit in my car and listen to it for another, there's only 6 more hours on it. I've got time, but no. But I'm loving it. So thank you for getting me back into my my PNR fix, because I haven't read one in a while. So this was like perfect. But and Julie, you've read, what was the first?
The Restrained series. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, you're just a little bit quiet there, Julie.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, that's better.
Much better.
Okay. Let me turn you up because I'm deaf. The restraint is the one that I wrote. The BDSM.
Yeah, I need to read that one.
And it was so bad, like when we were talking about it was your spotlight week. You know, I was a bad girl and had not reviewed the book yet. So I went and I was like, I gotta refresh my brain, you know, why did I love this and why do I recommend it to everyone? And so I decided to buy the audiobook. Well, I don't know, 12 hours later.
I mean, Shane East and Elena Wolf. You can't. I mean, it's Jason Clarke and Maxine Mitchell, Shane East and Elena Wolf. Like, I mean, how do you not?
Yeah, they were
okay.
Great.
Another one click.
I mean,
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm like, I'm on Amazon buying books.
Yeah, it's a great. I just loved it. I love that series.
I can't believe this is me outing me, but I can't believe I haven't read Patricia's work because her field is like my addiction. So like all of it is like my sweet spot. So I can't believe I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like
I just clicked a whole bunch.
You have 37 days.
Right? It's oh God, Susie, not the countdown. So, but
and an 8-hour car ride there.
I saw it today.
Audiobooks are awesome.
I am such a fan. And that was the same thing. It was like I was looking at Patricia's backlist and I'm like, this is like my candy store. It's PNR and it's romantic suspense and it's BDSM. And I was like, well, I can live here. I can just live here, be very, very happy living in the backlist because it's got all the things. And then I was looking at covers when we were doing the Spotlight Week and I was like, I don't know what to choose. They're so good. And then that's when I think we got on the subject of the, okay, what was the one I chose? I know I can't remember the title, but it was blue. It was a PNR.
Immortal
one.
Hunter.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, my eye just kept going back to it, just coming back to it. And then we were talking about Storm of Sin and I was like, yeah. So your covers are fantastic. So that's one of those things like we were talking about that people don't understand that there's more to authoring than authoring. There's more than just the writing. And I know Ron and Julie are both PAs for authors also, and you guys see what authors go through all the time. So Julie and I were like making a list the other day of all of the things, and we had come up with a couple. So what do you handle? What are some of the things when you made this post, Patricia, and you're like, so what were some of the things that were on your mind when you were posting that really got you thinking about it?
Oh, so let's see. I think so. I was struggling with connecting with a couple of my characters, and so I put the work in progress aside, and I just went and figured I'm just going to do a bunch of admin stuff. I'm going to do the things that have been on my list for like a month that I just have not gotten done, and I think I spent 3 whole days like doing almost nothing but admin stuff. I would scribble out a few story ideas here and there. But, well, I mean, 3 entire nights. And well, actually, I think one of them might have been a weekend. But things like I had to set up newsletter templates because I actually do have my PA handle a lot of my newsletter. But at the same time, I'm the one who I want it to look a certain way. So I set up the templates for the year. And I had this brilliant idea of, I'm going to do a different color header every single month. And okay, well, how am I going to decide that? What colors am I going to use? And so then that was a whole rabbit hole of just, okay, well, is there a color that's associated with each month commonly? It turns out there actually is. So then it was going and finding the color codes for all of those, like random things like that. Exporting subscribers from BookFunnel, from doing, round robins with, or exchanges, swaps with other authors, things like that. Oh my goodness, let's see, what else did I have on the list that was that week? It was I had to communicate with my cover designer about a couple of upcoming projects and see what their availability was. I had to book flights. I was booking flights for something not Charm City, because I already had those, but I don't remember what I was booking. I was booking flights for something, for something author related, another signing, maybe Denver. I have no idea. But other things, I have an entire list, because I actually went through. I was so exhausted after those few days that I literally went through and went, okay, I need to delegate more of these things. Oh, the other thing I was doing, I was uploading audiobooks. So I was uploading my latest audiobook files, and that alone is just, it's so time consuming, just because the files are huge. So you have to select them to upload, then you have to wait, then you have to rename the chapters. Like it's stupid things like that that you wouldn't think you would need to do, but you do. So every time I upload a new audiobook, it's uploading it to 3 different retailers and making sure the blurb is correct, and making sure that I haven't updated the blurb on the ebook, but maybe not the paperback. And then, so I think other things that I did that week, I audited all my paperback prices, because they were all slightly different, like $1 different among all of them, because I had never standardized. And I always thought I knew what to price them at, but apparently, again, I was like $1 off on some of them, random things like that. So it's just, there's a lot of things. What I told my reader group is, hey, I'm doing a whole bunch of things that authors are supposed to do, and I just haven't been doing them because I didn't think about them, or I just didn't have time, or I didn't realize that I could delegate them.
That's kind of a big thing also, though, is figuring out what to delegate and what you have to do. All right, Julie, this was from you through Janice, and I don't remember who told her this, the only do the things only you can do.
Right. I mean, basically, your job is to write books. It's the only thing that only you can do. So basically, if it's something that you can hand off, because you can't hand off your writing, you try to hand it off so that, it frees up your time so that you can write more books.
Yep. But sometimes it's hard, because the handing off can be just as overwhelming as doing it yourself, at least in the immediate term. Because after this like 3-day period where I'm just like, okay, I've got to hand off a lot of this stuff. So, okay, let's just make a list, check with my PA. What do you feel comfortable doing? What don't you feel comfortable doing? What do I feel comfortable with you doing? Because a lot of these things, like, they require access to accounts. And, is that something that you're comfortable with? Not every author is comfortable with handing their PA access to, say, one of their publishing accounts. My PAs have been with me for several years now, so I'm much more comfortable letting them or having them do more. But for the longest time, I went through a number of PAs before I found the 2 that I have now, and I would not have been comfortable handing off some of those things. And then it's just writing up the instructions and making sure that I have screenshots, and making sure that if my PA has a question, that they know where to find the answer, and how to, hopefully not make me spend an hour explaining things. But if I've done my job well enough and written in good instructions, then hopefully that won't happen. But that can make it hard to hand things off for a lot of authors.
Yeah. And I know there's a level of personal investment when you're doing things like this, where it's like, but I want to do that because I feel that I'm the best person to do that, or I want to do that because I enjoy doing that, or, like you said, there's a comfort level and there's a security level that goes with it too. And I think a lot of people don't think about the fact of, when an author goes through traditional publishing, they kind of take care of all the things, and you write and then you wait. And when you're doing indie authors, when you're an indie author, there's so much more, because ultimately it all does come down to you as the author, of not just putting the words on the page, but, like you said, making sure the credit card's not expired for the ads, and you know, there's even beyond the writing, beyond the publishing side of it. What do you spend most of your time on other than the writing? Where do you spend the bulk of your time?
Probably, well, I would say it's the miscellaneous admin things, the things like making sure that my paperbacks are all the same price and making sure that that they're all still on Amazon. I actually have one paperback that Amazon will not list. I have it with Ingram, and no matter what I do, they will not put it for sale. And so I'm going to have to upload another instance of it directly with Amazon, because they will not list Ingram's copy for some unknown reason. They list the hardcover, but they will not list the paperback, and they won't tell me why. So it's those types of things, the random little bits of, usually financial related. So you know, audiobook pricing, running sales, running discounts, things like, you know, BookBubs or Terp deals, those types of things that are more financially related. Those things I still do most of those, or at least I control parts of them. Like I'm going to start having one of my PAs submit my books to BookBub for me, but I still have to put in the price change. I still have to make sure that I actually revert the price change after the sale, because when I went through that weekend and was auditing all my prices, I found one book that was still 99 cents and had been 99 cents for probably 8 months. And I had not intended that to happen.
And when you have, how many books do you have? How many titles do you have listed?
I went through the other day. I think live titles right now, I have 39. I have a lot of things that have been like in anthologies that are unpublished, or in anthologies that have then been republished. But actually, no, because the list that I submitted for Charm City had 39. I have like 43 live titles, because I didn't list a couple of like the little short stories that I have up.
That's still a lot. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot to,
Yeah.
you know, kind of keep track of.
Yes, and when each of those titles is on 5 different retailers, that's, you just magnify it by a lot.
So talk about that too, because you said 5 different retailers. And I think most people are familiar with indie authors publishing. Jeez, it's been a long day. Indie authors publishing on Amazon. So what are the other markets that you find out there that you use as an indie author? What other networks are out there?
So I publish wide, which means my books are not in Kindle Unlimited. And so I publish on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Google Play, Apple, and Kobo. So those are where my books are. Kobo also, well, a couple of the retailers also then, you know, distribute to other foreign retailers, or, you know, out of the country retailers. So, but 5 different sites I have to go upload every single ebook to. And then audiobooks, my audiobooks are everywhere, including, and my books are also available for libraries to order through a couple of different places. Some indie authors also publish to Smashwords, which is now owned by Draft Digital. And then some authors use Draft Digital to distribute to everyone but Amazon. And then other indie authors go direct to all of the different sites. I go direct just because when I started going direct, Draft Digital didn't exist. So, and there are certain advantages or certain things that going direct gets you. And then there are actually equally advantages that publishing through Draft Digital gets you. So it's 6 one, half dozen of the other in terms of which is better. But I've just always gone direct with everybody.
And when you have it out there on that many platforms, you're keeping track of them on every single platform. It's not like it just does the one and then you're done and then it's
right.
Wow. See, I'm learning things. What, Julie?
If you have a sale, you're going to go update it on 5 places.
Yep. And most sites, luckily, every site other than Amazon lets you schedule sale prices and schedule when they start and schedule when they end, which is very nice because that means that it's only possible on Amazon to forget to turn your sale price back to the regular price.
They like to make things easy, right?
Yep.
I can see the sarcasm dripping through the screen right now. Yeah, Amazon has been the Zon's been a Anyway, we don't know who's watching this, so I didn't say anything
Yeah.
bad about Amazon. Nothing at all ever.
It's, the way that I look at it is really kind of a lot like I look at Starbucks. I mean, I live in Seattle, so Starbucks is a local company. I don't actually like their coffee. I've never found their coffee to taste great, especially not compared to, say, my local coffee shop's coffee. But at the same time, I can recognize that Starbucks basically created the gourmet coffee industry. Without Starbucks, my local coffee shops would not exist.
Right.
So I can look at them and go, your coffee may not be for me, but I really appreciate what you did for the industry.
Yes.
And Amazon made it possible for indie authors to be seen and to publish and to find readers. And so, yeah, you know, there are a lot of things. There are things about every company, books, cars, mobile phones, whatever. There are things about every company in the world that you can say are not the greatest. But I do look at Amazon and say, Amazon allowed me to have a career. That's how I got started. So
if it wasn't for Amazon, I'm gonna be honest, Kindle Unlimited is what got me through the pandemic. Being able to just grab things that I could read, and at one point I was reading 20 books a month. And if I had to go and buy every single one of those books at a Barnes and Noble or something, I never would have read them. And then a friend of mine said that Kindle was created to allow bashful romance readers to read in public. And I thought, what? And it was true. It's like, wow, okay. I kind of understand that, because at first I wasn't out as a romance reader for probably 8 months after I started reading. And Patricia, I don't know how much you know about with my background. I didn't start reading romance until March of 2020.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I'm a relative newbie in this whole thing. I know Ron's been reading romance since probably since she's been reading. And Julie's been reading romance for years. And Susie, I think Susie, you started about the same time I did, right? Pandemic?
Yeah. COVID, yeah.
A friend of mine who's a writer and writes shifter romances put one of her books in my hand and said, stop watching the news and read my book. And
well, I wanted to drink alcohol and I was told no, go read a book. But I'm sure he regrets those words now.
Yep, because now you're part of a whole community of
Yes.
indie authors and indie author readers that we're a bunch, aren't we? Your poor husband. Julie, you had a question that came up.
How does social media play into your work as an author, as an indie author?
Oh, social media is the thing everyone loves to hate. I think it's necessary and it can be fun, but it can also be a lot of work and a lot of distraction. So I tend to stay out of a lot of the drama-filled spaces. Again, like every company in the world has issues. Every space in the world can occasionally have drama. And I know that it is very easy to get sucked into a lot of stuff like that on social media. So I tend to post and run a lot of times, and then just interact with anyone who comments on one of my posts. I do love my reader group. I spend a lot of time in my reader group. I've built what I think is a pretty supportive and understanding community in there. And so that's the exception for me, is sometimes I'll go there when I'm having a bad day and ask for cute animal pictures and funny memes and things like that. But for social media everywhere else, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, even my Facebook page, for me, it's a lot of hands off. I have my PAs handling a lot of my Facebook page and Instagram, and then I just interact. I comment, I respond to comments, things like that, because I feel very strongly that readers should hear from me, and that readers should be able to get to know me through social media, at least a little bit. But I have to balance it with the amount of time that I have, and the amount of time that it takes to actually write, and the amount of focus it takes to actually write.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a full-time job. I can't imagine. Like, do you sleep?
I do. I have ADHD, and I do actually think that is sort of my superpower, because I can do multiple things at once. If I'm not multitasking, I'm not being productive. So I can write while I'm watching TV. I can take a break from my day job and go spend 15 minutes and write, and then go right back to my day job, and usually get right back into it. So I do a lot of things like that, especially now with the pandemic. I work from home, so it's very easy to just shut my work laptop and pick up my personal laptop and go sit on the couch for 15 or 20 minutes. If inspiration strikes, unless I have a meeting, my job is flexible enough that they just want me to do my work. So if I need to take a break in the middle of the day, they're all good with that, which is wonderful, and I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I think ADHD is it can be a challenge, but in this case, it really is sort of a superpower.
I love that so much. You have no idea how much I love hearing that, because we joke about ADHD and ADD, my brain squirrels. That's the big thing in my household and with my friends, is that I'm doing something and then nope, I'm off to do something else. I can't write and listen to the TV at the same time. I will literally type what I hear coming from the screen. And authors don't tend to like that when I'm editing. When they go back and they look and they're like, what were you watching? What were you listening to? That, like, never mind. That makes no sense. So I tend not to do that. But that going back and forth and being able to say, I'm going to do a little bit of this, I'm going to do a little bit of that, I'm going to come back to it. When the inspiration strikes, being able to say, here's the idea, the brain squirrels are at the rave, let's go do the things so we can get it out of the head and go back to focus on something else. Would you say one of the other nice things about being an indie author is that the deadline is your deadline?
Yes, definitely. Although, I mean, there are still deadlines you can't get out of. A lot of times, like I try and put up pre-orders. So when I release one book, I put the pre-order up for the next book, and you can't set a pre-order out more than a year. And so there's always that deadline of, okay, well, within a year, I have to get the next book in this series written. And since I have multiple series going, I try and alternate. And so that can sometimes be a little stressful. Or things like when you want to do a simultaneous release of audio and your ebook, you have to get the audio done well in advance, and you have to book the audio well in advance, because the narrators book up, and they can book up 6, 8, 10 months in advance. So it's things like that still require you to occasionally do a lot of juggling. But at the same time, if I don't get a book done, or if the characters simply aren't talking to me, it's only me who has to deal with the consequences. And so that is a lot less pressure, maybe a lot more pressure at the same time. But like, I'm not putting a contract in jeopardy. I'm not putting future books in jeopardy because I could not fulfill the contract I signed with the publisher, things like that. So it's good and bad at the same time.
No, definitely. I can see that. I know a lot of authors do pre-orders, and it's to keep them on track. I know I have this and I have to have it done by, so I have to do all the things that lead up to it. And it's you're drafting and you're editing and you're getting the like you said, the cover and formatting. And if you do arc reads, and moving that into the schedule also. so you do a pre-order for everything?
I have over the past 3 or 4 years, yes. And it is possible. I've thought about it occasionally, just dropping a live release here and there, just to potentially take pressure off myself. But I am the type of person who needs a deadline in order to write, at least a lot of times, or at least in order to finish something. I was always the person who in college, I would write my papers at 3 a.m. the day they were due. And so, I need the pressure of that deadline to focus. Otherwise, my brain, again, just, shiny squirrels running through it, and I will start 18 different books and not finish any of them, and they'll all have like 3 chapters, and then I won't go anywhere with them. So
I like this shiny squirrels. Squirrel.
How many books do you write a year on average?
I want to say 4, really. I mean, again, on average. My ideal, I would love to write 5. Like that's been my goal the past few years, but pandemic, stress, just at this point, if I get 3 full-length books out and maybe a novella, I'm thrilled. Plus, I always like to leave myself a little room in case there is just either a character who will not leave me alone and who is just demanding all of my attention, or if there is some sort of special project, an anthology, something for charity that I want to be involved in. I try and give myself at least a little leeway so that I can do things like that.
Ron, did you have any other questions or things that came up?
No, I was just in awe of the publishing schedule because three a year is a pretty aggressive schedule. I know that Julie's nodding because I know that she has authors who do more than that. I don't know how you do it.
You're going. But
there are days.
Well, I mean, that is their full-time job. They don't have, like Patricia has a full-time job on top of this other full-time job she's got going on.
Right.
Right. I mean, I work for Avery, so I know that we've done 4 in a year, and it just about made our heads spin. So, I mean, and she had to write it. I just had to manage the teams, and it was aggressive. So my hat's off to you if you can work a full-time job and do that too.
Do you feel there's an expectation from readers sometimes to have a certain number of books out or the next book, or how does that come into play for you as an author?
There can be, but really a lot of it is about managing those expectations. I have told my readers over and over again that this is more or less the schedule, and when I put the pre-orders up and they're out a year, usually what I tell my readers is my goal is always to get them out earlier than 1 year from the last book, but at the same time the characters have to talk to me, and I also have to write all the other series, because once you start a series, readers want the next one, which completely understandable. I want the next one. So a lot of it is just managing those expectations. And I try and be open with, especially my reader group and my newsletter subscribers, to say, hey, I am really struggling with this book, and it's taking me a little longer than I expected. And so it's definitely not going to come out until 1 year after the last one. Or, hey, this book is going really well, I should be able to release this early. So just to keep them updated, to say, yeah, this is my goal. Here's my publishing best guess. I've stopped doing publishing schedules, like actually publishing a publishing schedule, because I will inevitably, something will happen and I will be delayed, or I will change things, or some new character will demand my time. So I just do, hey, this is what I'm hoping to do this year. And, make sure you follow my Facebook page, or follow my, join my reader group for updates, things like that.
I love those bossy characters, the ones who are like, no, my book's next. I think those are the most fun to read. Just because it's like, there's such a there's an energy with a book like that where you're like, it's just that they would not shut up. So now they have their book, and
Yep.
I love that. So, Julie, you had another
Are-
question?
Oh, go ahead.
It just all of a sudden it popped in my head. Have you had a character that you had zero plans of writing a book for, and they decided that they were going to have a book, whether you liked it or not?
Let's see. I pretty much, most of my characters, I had some idea that I would like to write their books. Whether or not I necessarily planned on it is a completely different thing. My latest release featured a character that was really, he was only in 2 chapters of a past book, but I couldn't let him go. And I mean, he was interesting. I wrote him into that past book because I thought he was interesting and because I really wanted to know more about him. But I had no idea at that time if he would ever get his own book, or how he would get his own book, or what his story would be. So trying to think of just through all of my series. I do know that there are some side characters in some of my paranormal romances that I did not intend to have books at the start at all, but then by the second book in the PNR series, I was fascinated by them and went, no, I have to write something for them. Like I have a whole series idea of little novellas for one of my female vampire characters, because she just, as like the first book, she didn't even exist. The second book, when I started writing her, she was just a character. I liked her. But by the end of that book, I'm like, no, she's got history. Plus 800-year-old vampire. There's tons to explore there. So it's things like that where maybe at the start of the book, I didn't intend them to have a book of their own, but by the end, it was like, nope, they're going to have something at some point.
Are you a one book at a time author, or do you have multiples in process at the same time?
It sort of depends. When I finish a book, I will usually start at least 2 others and then see which one speaks to me, or see which characters decide that they want to talk. Because a lot of times, I have so many ideas and so many, like I have a whole series planned out that I think is 7 books, and I know all the characters, I know what they do, I know their love interest names and what they do, but I haven't met any of them yet. And last month I just had a flash of, nope, this is how these 2 meet. All right, well, I'm just going to write that down. And if they had continued to talk to me really loudly, I would have switched from the book that I'm currently writing to their book. But they just wanted me to get down their meet cute scene, and then they're like, okay, we can be quiet for a while. I'm like, okay, I'll go back to this other one. I have occasionally written 2 books at once, but I don't do that reliably.
I think that's why I've never finished a book, because I'm not a writer. I'm definitely an editor, because I have like 30 ideas scattered around in different notebooks and things that are like, there's a chapter here, there is a couple of lines there, none of them mesh with anything else, and they're never going anywhere. So I love that you can say, well, I'm going to start a little bit here, I'm going to start a little bit there, and I'm going to see where it goes, and then come back to it and come up with a full, flushed out, complete story. Maybe someday. Not anytime soon. So you've got
I have one file that I use for all of these like little random snippets. And so they're all in one place. And so again, like if I get stuck on what I'm working on, sometimes I'll flip over to that file and see if anybody wants to talk type thing. Doesn't always work, but sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But you know what? You have it, which is cool.
Yep.
Because I think for me, it's that, yeah, no, that's not going anywhere. We're just going to kind of push that off to the side there, start something else. Ron's laughing at me. Stop laughing at me. She's, I know what you're thinking. Stop it.
No, I have 27 notebooks. but I'm old, so they've been accumulating a while.
Yeah, I buy notebooks and I
I
use them
haven't
and then,
counted mine, and I'm not going to, because yeah.
oh, I don't blame you. That would be that would be a bad thing for me to do. I know they're around and I'm like, we're just gonna, so we've got an event coming up in March in Charm City. So how do the book events play into what you do as an author?
I love the book events. I don't do the book events with an expectation that I'm going to make a lot of money from them. I do them because I love talking to readers, and I love hanging out with other authors and just seeing people, especially now when we don't leave our houses all that often anymore. So yeah, book events are just, they are a ton of fun. And I think every single book event that I've done, every signing that I've done, the best part is a reader who has never read you before, never met you, but they're just walking by your table, and either your banner or your covers or something urges them to stop, and you just talk to them and realize that, hey, this book would be perfect for you. This is exactly what you like to read. Here, have at it. And to find your next biggest fan at just by random is just, it's wonderful. And it's just, there's an energy to events and to signings that just you don't find anywhere else. And yeah, it's just so much fun.
But I guess, that's also another thing, is that being an author, I think sometimes can be kind of lonely. It's you and your characters and your page. And then we had COVID, which made things even more lonely. Except for, the social media all the time, and it has its downfall, certainly, but excuse me, at the same time, it has that community element to it. So I love that you said going to book events is something that it's getting you out to see other people, and the expectation there is making the connections, and
Yes.
not just with readers, but with other authors too, because yeah, it's kind of a solitary life being a writer. It's you and the words and the page. So I love that. How many events do you typically do a year?
Well, again, COVID sort of messed all of that up. I think the most, in 2020, I was actually supposed to do 5 and I did none. Actually, no, I did 1, because 1 happened before the pandemic. So that was a lot. I was a little nervous about that when I booked all of them. And a lot of it is just, I am not to be trusted with my own calendar. I have instructed my PA to that I basically, I need to run everything by her first, so that she can say, no, this is a bad idea. Remember, you have 2 other events that month, or things like that. Because I end up booking myself into back-to-back weekends, which is very tiring and very long. And I did it last year and swore I would never do it again. And then I did it again this year. So fun times.
Are you
But
doing
generally,
Denver?
I mean, yes, I'm doing Denver. So I am flying from Seattle to Baltimore. Then I'm flying back. I have 3 days at home, and then I'm flying to Denver.
Denver. Wow.
So yes, that is going to be a lot. But at the same time, I love the events. Like it's exhausting getting to them, like getting up to them in the couple of weeks leading up to them, doing pre-orders, getting everything shipped out, making sure I have enough swag and books and all of that. But the events themselves are just so energizing. So it's worth it. I think 3 to 4 a year is plenty. 3 is probably my happy spot overall. And so far this year, I only have 3, so we'll see. I'm hoping to do 1 more. So
I like the way the 3s are working. 3 books a year, 3 events a year. There's a nice little triad going on there. So oh gosh, it's 8 o'clock already. What other questions did you guys have? I know there were a couple of other things that came up, and anything else that jogged your mind, or the burning questions that you have to know. I'm going to do the whole owl thing, you know, where they sit there and they look at you with their head spinning and waiting for an answer.
I think we went over a lot.
Yeah.
Good.
Susie, there was one other question that had come up that I saw that you had. Yeah. I know we're always like typing and adding things.
If you could pass a piece of advice to a new indie author, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. I would say, I mean, there's so many things I could say. I think the most important thing is that you are the only one who can write the stories. And so there's a lot of advice out there if you are an author. And when you become an author, you will get a lot of advice, much of it unsolicited, some of it very solicited. But you need to decide what is right for you. And what is right for you and what is right for another author may be two very, very different things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because I publish 3 books a year or 4 books a year does not mean that any other author should publish that number of books. Just because one author can write 10 books a year does not mean that you are a failure if you can only write 1. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their own journey. And it is very, very important that at the end of the day, you are the one who is happy. And so if you are happy with the story that you are writing, if you are happy with the schedule that you have set for yourself, if you're happy with your sales, like maybe you don't sell that much, but you are just happy to get any sales. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone needs to write to make $1 million or to quit their day job or any of that. At the end of the day, you are the only one who needs to be happy with what you are doing.
Thank you for saying that, because I know I work with a lot of new authors and there's a lot of thought out there of I have to be as good as, or I'm not a success. And having an established author who's been doing this for 10 years, who has a backlist that has so much variety in it and that has so many readers, and then to hear that, I think that's so valuable for somebody who's just starting their journey now to hear, because it can be very competitive. You know, we like to post about, you know, look at the numbers and look at the sales and look at this, and that can be it's wonderful. I want to celebrate that every time it happens. Every orange banner, I want to celebrate for everybody. Every number that comes up, I want to celebrate for everybody. But for a new author to hear it's your journey,
Yep.
is
and really, your definition of success can change, and that's fine too. I mean, maybe when you start out, all you want to do is make someone's life better or tell someone's story. And maybe in 5 years, you come up with an income goal. Maybe you don't. Either way, my definition of success has changed a lot in 10 years, and it will change again. And that's fine too.
I love that. Goals are something that you reach for, that you want to achieve, but they're never set in stone. There's always a way to change something so that it matches what you want to do, where you want to be. I love that. Thank you so much. Do you guys have any other quick questions before we jump off? I thought I was.
I think we got it.
Thank you, Maggie.
I'm excited to see you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. How many days, Susie?
37.
37 days. So yeah. What was that, Julie?
But I need to get some pajamas.
Yes. So yeah, did you choose pajamas for the Pajama Ramapalooza?
Not yet. I need to go shopping, and I hate shopping. Like, really, really hate shopping.
Same.
I'll be
I've
on
had a
Amazon.
couple-
I'm not shopping like out in the real world with people.
I've gotten a couple things from Amazon and I'm like, nope, that's not it. It goes to Kohl's to go back to Amazon, or one of the spawns will say, oh, I like that. And I'm like, push it in that direction. I have the shoes. I have shoes, but I don't have my pajamas yet. Well, fantastic. Patricia, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us, for chatting with us, for sharing with us. I am so excited to see you in 37 days. And I'm just really excited for that, to be there with my stalker sisters, to be there with the authors who are going to be there, who are in many different places in their journey. Like I said, we have some really baby authors who are going to be there. And I think a huge value for me, and I know for the rest of us as organizers, is giving them the opportunity to, like you said, to network, to interact, to hear from authors who've been there and done that, and whose goals have changed and whose definitions of success have changed. So it's not this, you got to stay on this straight trajectory. It's kind of like that, success started here and wanted to go here, and it kind of went all over the place and eventually kind of got there. But I'm super excited about having this amazing group of authors who are from very different levels of experience, very different types of books that you write, and all being in the same place. And I'm just going to fangirl a lot. It's going to be like a huge fangirl weekend for me, for all of us, I think. But anything else you wanted to share before we jump off?
No, this has been great. Thank you for having me. Actually, no, there is one other thing for readers. And I get this, I've seen this a number of places. People will post, sometimes in my reader group, sometimes I'll just see a random post on Facebook. If you find a book and you love it and it changes your life, or it just touches you in a way that is just special, email the author and tell them. Like, a lot of times I think readers put authors up on this pedestal and make us larger than life, and we are not. We are readers too, and we are just as awkward and insecure, and sometimes awkward, social anxiety and things like that, as anybody else. And there is nothing better, or there's nothing that can turn your day around as an author more than getting an email from a reader who says, thank you for writing this book. So if you have that book, whatever book it is that is just special to you, never be shy about going up to an author, emailing the author and saying, hey, thank you. This book was awesome. I loved it. It can really make an author's day. And again, we're real people. We have all the same problems and all the same challenges as everyone else. We just have this public face that we put on, and sometimes sometimes that email can just turn our days around. So
Yes, I agree 100%. Send the email, make the comment, make the post that lets your favorite author know, or the new author that you found, or the author that's your kind of your old steady, that lets them know that you appreciate what they wrote, and that it touched you, and that it helped you through a difficult time, or it made you laugh when you needed to, or cry when you needed to, or you found a new book boyfriend, or a new book bestie through the books. So I think that's really important and really good for readers to know. Definitely. Patricia, thank you so very much. I can't wait to see you in 37 days in March.
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you.